gets closer. Hello, everybody. Alongside Kelly Gramlich, I'm Sam Ravitch. Great to have you with us here this Sunday afternoon. Kelly, we got a chance to talk to both coaches before this one, and they both talked about how important this game was. Why is that?
This game is massive. The top 9 seeds in the ACC tournament get a bye. These two know each other very well and are fighting for that 9th spot.
So Clemson controls the tip here. These two teams already met earlier this year on New Year's Day. Kelly and I were on the call. It was an exciting game, a one-point game in which Clemson won it 60-59. Could be in store for another good one as Ruby Whitehorn gets us started here underneath one of the more talented freshmen in the entire country right now. Ruby Whitehorn averaging 10.5 points per game. Here's a look at the starting 5 for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. You see Jewel Spear, who we will talk a lot about here today. 17 points per game, leads the team.
Sam, we all know you have to fear the Spear. A couple weeks ago in this building, she put up 34 in a win over Louisville.
Star of the show for the Demon Deeks. Ranks 5th in the ACC with those 17 points per game. We're gonna look at the starting 5 for Clemson. Brie Perpignan, Bradford. Saw Ruby Whitehorn get us going on the scoring column. Of course, Amari Robinson. So this is something to keep an eye on here, Kelly. You talked about what you want to keep an eye on for. 60 or bust, points allowed this season. When Clemson allows less than 60 points, they are 11-1. When Wake Forest allows less than 60, they are 12-1.
Whichever team can hold the other one to less than 60, or really whichever team can score more than 60 is going to be the key in this game. And Wake Forest definitely wants to play more of a half-court contest. Clemson wants to speed it up a little bit. They're going to apply pressure at different times, full-court press with their matchup zone. So I think the pace is also something you really want to watch today.
And neither of these teams score a ton of points. Very good defensive teams. Clemson, one of the better in regards to steals in the ACC. As Elise Williams' shot is off the mark, and Mira Hines fighting for the rebound there, and a jump ball possession error to Wake Forest. See head coach Amanda Butler in her 5th season now, continuing to build this Clemson program. ACC Coach of the Year back in 18-19. Tigers trying to get over that 5-win mark in the ACC. That's a big number for them.
Both these teams 4 and 8 in the league, and in the best league in the country. It's very difficult to get wins. And as we've said, they're both fighting for that 9th place spot in the ACC tournament in Greensboro in a couple weeks, which is going to be epic, Sam Ravitch.
Sure will.
Getting in the top 9 means you don't play on the first day. You get a bye. It's very important. Both coaches were emphasizing that to us in shoot-arounds.
Harrison hits the 3. 5'7" senior from Baldwin, New York, averaging just over 7 points a game.
And the big question with Wake Forest is who else can step up and score and help out Jewel Spear on the offensive end. Kaya Harrison is one of those very capable scorers.
Ari Robinson had it knocked out of her hand. It will stay here with Clemson. Megan Jebbia, it was a pleasure speaking with her earlier today in her 1st season at Wake Forest. Comes over to Winston-Salem following a really successful career at American University in Washington, D.C. She left as the all-time winningest coach in program history there, led the Eagles to the NCAA tournament for the first time in program history as well. Very big on the analytics, Kelly.
I think I'm going to start calling Coach Jebbia the professor.
I like it.
When I talk to her, I feel like I learn about basketball. She's very cerebral. She's very calm on the sidelines. She gives me professor vibes.
Brie Perpignan knocks down the free throw line jumper. She's averaging 9 points per game. As a team, Clemson averages 67. Wake Forest last in the league, averaging 60, but don't let that fool you. These two teams go at it defensively and relatively deep on both sides as well. You'll see both benches getting some use today.
And Clemson in that zone, they want to stick in this zone. They really like it. They like what it's been able to do for them. And Coach Butler told me, she said, we kind of had to pick. I want to get really good at one thing, not just decent at both man and zone. So they've picked zone, and they want to stay in it the whole game, or at least for most of the game. We'll see what Wake tries to do against that zone.
We saw Kaya Harrison get the runner there. Coach Jebbia told us she wants her to be more creative and maybe draw some more contact on her drives. That was a more aggressive drive from Kaya Harrison there. Gets Wake Forest back on top 5-4 here in the first quarter. Perpignan with the drive. She's got 4.
Perpignan has been very consistent for Clemson this season. You can tell Coach Butler trusts her. She likes what she brings to the floor. She's very calm, level-headed out there, and has looked to score more lately, which is good for the Tigers.
Elise Williams might have traveled, sure did. All right, so we were talking to Coach Gebbia about, how this is a new system. She's trying to get everybody on board. Here's her offensive philosophy, Kelly.
She runs a motion system. So the way I heard it from her, we're talking shots, share, and screens. She wants good shots. She's really into analytics. Restricted area shots and three-pointers are the best shots that she wants. She would love this team to get to that 15 assists per game mark. She really wants a lot of sharing the basketball. And then very importantly, when you're running a motion offense and you're running less sets and more free-flowing, you've got to set good screens. And that's another thing that she's emphasized. So the professor teaching us some motion principles today, Sam.
First foul on Elise Williams as Ruby Whitehorn will go to the line to shoot 2. But to your point, Wake Forest assisting on over 62% of their made baskets this year. Last year, that number was around 45%. So she is certainly pleased with the improvement in that category. But like you said, she wants it up a little bit more north of that number. Whitehorn able to convert on the first, shoots at 62% from the free throw line. Highest ranked incoming freshman to the ACC this season, and she's shown us why. Were it not for somebody named Taniyah Latson in the ACC this year, we might have a different conversation for freshman of the year.
Taniyah Latson has been absurd at Florida State,
right.
But Whitehorn was also a McDonald's All-American, just like Taniyah Latson, Clemson's first ever McDonald's All-American. And I think we've seen, Coach Butler was telling us today, Ruby, obviously super talented, a big part of what they do, but she's starting to deal with and learn how to deal with when teams scout her and take things away. And that's the difference, one of the many differences between the college game and the high school game.
Kiana Gaines into the game as well for Clemson as Perpignan drives, throws it to no man's land, and a turnover. Second turnover of the game for Clemson.
Ino Inyang in for the Tigers as well, number 21 in purple. I really like what I've seen from Inyang lately. So does Coach Butler. She has that different kind of body that you just can't coach, but she has great touch around the rim and is very agile for her size. So she's someone that I think has a really high potential for the Tigers.
Good ball movement here for Wake Forest as Williams lines up the 3, way too strong. Alasia Douglas handling the ball there. Coach Butler already dipping into the bench here in the first quarter. Kiana Gaines spins, fires, and gets a friendly roll on the road here. Kiana Gaines, talented sophomore with a really high ceiling, a 6-0 run for the Tigers.
And a high vertical. Kiana Gaines can elevate. You saw that on that play. Not just a turnaround, but elevated above the defender where the defender couldn't even get there to contest the shot.
Runner no good for Williams, and back the other way come the Tigers. Clemson 4 for 7 in their first 7 attempts from the field. What are you seeing from Clemson early on here?
They're taking good shots. They're getting shots around the rim, getting shots in the restricted area. They've only taken 1 3. Coach Butler thought they took too many threes a couple games ago in the Miami game, and so they're looking to attack, which is a good sign for Clemson.
Hot start for Clemson. They lead it 10-5 here in the first quarter.
Has this
BCA and the V Foundation will talk a lot about the K Foundation as this game rolls along, but you look at what Wake Forest has done at home this year, Kelly. It's been kind of silly, and Jewel Spear's a big part of that.
It is night and day. It's unbelievable. It's like on the road, they're just the Deacons. At home, they're the Demon Deacons. That's the only way you can explain this. And we were talking with Coach Gebbia about it. She really wasn't sure what the difference has been, but all 4 of their ACC wins have come at home. They, of course, beat Louisville here. And Jewel Spear, the star for Wake, is averaging nearly 20 points per game in this gym. So that's why I'm surprised we've seen a slow, I would say even somewhat sluggish start from the Deeks here at home.
All 5 points for Wake Forest coming from Kaya Harrison so far in this game. She's 2 for 2. The rest of the team 0 for 6. Here she is with the ball, guarded by Alasia Douglas. So how does Wake get the offense going more? You got to imagine Jewel Spear gets involved a little bit.
The key against the zone is paint touches, whether that's attacking with the dribble or getting the ball to the high post. When Clemson and Wake played back on January 1st, the Deacs were very effective getting the ball to the high post. Samuel was a big part of that, so that's got to be a point of emphasis.
Hannah Hank hits the three, the first made three of the game for Clemson, in a 9-0 run, largest lead of the game. It's 13-5.
Feels like Clemson has some momentum from the Miami game. They lost in overtime on Thursday to a Miami team that is an NCAA tournament team, but they played well, especially in the second half, and hit some big threes. So it feels like Clemson's feeling good from that game, even though it was a loss.
Gets it into Olivia Sumiel at the high post. That's where they found success against Clemson the last time these two met.
And that's what I was saying. You got to get the ball to Sumiel. She's a very capable mid-range shooter from there, as well as a passer.
Senior from Dayville, Connecticut. Averages about 8 per game. That shot's blocked by Demira Hines. And Wake Forest looking to run here. Kaya Harrison, fastest player on Wake Forest's team, has it blocked by Nunu Bradford. Hines wrestling for that rebound. I think we'll have a foul here.
There was some serious contact on that drive. I thought they were going to call Kaya Harrison for lowering her shoulder. I was surprised they let that go without any sort of whistle. And here's another look. Kaya Harrison just completely lowers her shoulder and leans into Bradford. I think that should have been an offensive foul.
The foul called on the floor goes against Hannah Hank. It was her first. There's Sumiel again, knocked out of her hands. Good defense from Perpignan.
And Sam, on that time, Sumiel got the ball at the high post. No one moved. All 4 white jerseys around her stood still. They've got to have a little more movement, but sometimes Jewel Spear can just save the day by knocking down a 3.
Continues to hit threes, averaging just about 3 makes per game from beyond the arc. It's a foul on the floor.
And Jewel Spear is that lethal combination of an absolute knockdown shooter, but can do everything else as well. And that is rare. Most of the time, if you're an absolute knockdown shooter, you can't necessarily attack the rim. You can't handle the ball as well. You're not great in the mid-range. So the fact that she can do that, she's one of the best shooters in the entire country, but can also get to the rim and do everything else, is really special. And she's already closing in. She has another year and then perhaps another year, because she has that COVID year. She will own this record as long as she stays healthy. There's no doubt in my mind.
Here's Enyang. It's a great pass on the interior. Couldn't finish. Loose ball picked up by Jewel Spear. Just continuing that conversation on Jewel, she said when she came to Wake Forest that she wanted to leave a legacy and make her mark on the program. She's already done that, but she continues to build on the legacy, Kelly.
She's feeling good. You let Jewel Spear see the ball go through the net just once, and it can be a serious problem for the opponent. You got to fear the Spear. Another 3 ball.
Just like that, an 8-0 run for the Demon Deacons is ended by Eno Enyang, who just kind of bully her way to the basket if you let her.
Enyang has some serious strength inside, but now for Clemson on the other end, in this zone, you have to know where Jewel Spear is at every single moment. Force her to put the ball on the floor.
10 on the shot clock. All the way over to Alexandria Scruggs. Here's Spear coming off a screen. Got hit coming down, no whistle. Ruby Whitehorn brings in the rebound. And a foul committed by Jewel Spear. All right, here's Thursday night's women's basketball doubleheader. Olivia Miles leads number 9 Irish against Pittsburgh at 6 Eastern time. Then Diamond Johnson, number 15 NC State, taking on this Wake Forest team. And Jewel Spear going to be another great night of women's hoops right here on the ACC network. We have already seen Notre Dame go down earlier today. Duke with a big, big win there as Brie Perpignan right down the lane. She's got 6.
I like how aggressive Perpignan has been attacking the rim. Clemson has taken some good shots in this quarter. That's why they're shooting over 50% from the floor.
Harrison takes it into the paint, right on the ACC logo, comes up short. Good offensive rebound by Tamira Hines. She does that with the best of them. Samiel hits the three. Wake Forest has already hit 4 threes here in the first quarter. Clock winding down, 5 seconds to play. Perpignan with the ball, got to get a shot off here. Step back three. Oh, just a bit too strong. So after a 9-0 run by Clemson, Wake Forest puts together an 8-0 run of their own, and they trail it by 1 as we enter the second. In 2009, after a 22-year battle with breast cancer, her legacy continues to live on through the Yow Cancer Fund and the amazing, truly amazing work being done by those who have dedicated their lives to finding a cure.
Well said, Sam. And here in the ACC, Yow was really one of ours. She's the legendary head coach at NC State, of course. So I feel like every year the ACC does it big and understands her legacy as best as anyone. And Coach Butler was talking about that as well. Coach Butler didn't know Yow super well, but just had her influence as a coach and a coach on the East Coast when she was an assistant at Charlotte, the head coach at Charlotte, head coach at Florida, now at Clemson. Said Yow always treated her well, and her legacy lives on through really every coach still coaching in this game and trying to give back to young people.
No doubt about it. So here in the second quarter, just getting underway. Winston-Salem, North Carolina, alongside Kelly Gramlich, I'm Sam Ravitch. Second foul on Hannah Hank there. That's going to be big as Eno Enyang checks back in for Hannah Hank. You talk about what we saw in that first quarter, Kelly. Wake Forest going 4 for 9 from beyond the arc, put together an 8-0 run to get them right back into this thing down by 1.
A barrage from the Deeks. They just got hot. Harrison hit one, Spear hit a couple, Samiel hit one, and you're seeing the ball being spread around with all those shooters. I'm very curious because we've talked about Clemson sticking in that zone. The zone is what they do. As the Deeks shoot like this, if they continue to shoot like this, does Coach Butler consider getting out of that zone?
That's a really strong move from Alexandria Scruggs, the 5'10 senior from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Primarily a starter her first 2 seasons, but this year has kind of grown into a role coming off the bench for the Demon Deacons. Ruby Whitehorn puts it on the floor, kicks it to Enyang at the free throw line, off the heel. Spear, mid-range is good. Jewel Spear has a lot of tools in the toolbox, Kelly. She can hurt you in multiple ways.
She can do it all. That time she pretended like she was using that screen to her left, took one dribble and then went the other way, split the screen and took a mid-range. And I talk about her game. The way she shoots the three is special, but she can truly do everything else, and that's what makes her so good.
Sometimes, you know, we've called quite a few Jewel Spear games. You can tell if she's on, she's on. Right now,
she's already calling for it.
You could be in for a really big game for Jewel Spears. Already got 8 points here in the game, 3 for 6 from the floor. Scruggs into the low post again, looking for help. Harrison 6 to shoot. Harrison with the runner. No good, but gets her own rebound. Where's the box out from Clemson there? Harrison with the pull-up J. No good. Tamira Hines again on the O-boards. Puts it back up and in. Tamira Hines already has 5 rebounds in the game.
Tigers are losing the rebounding battle. The other question mark, of course, we always talk about rebounding out of a zone and how it's more difficult. Clemson is a zone team, so that's what they do, and they emphasize rebounding out of a zone, but they've got to be better on the offensive glass.
Largest lead of the game for Wake Forest here on a 6-0 run. 22-17 as Scruggs has 4 points here in this second quarter alone. And a 30-second timeout called by head coach Amanda Butler as Wake Forest on an 8-0 run here.
Provided quite the spark inside. She's a bit undersized, only 5'10", but she loves to get in the paint and is able to score around the bigger players inside. She's been a big part. We talk about, Sam, against a zone, you got to get paint touches. Scruggs has come in and been aggressive, and that's been very helpful for Wake. The other helpful thing has been 4 for 9 from 3 against that zone.
that will help. Yeah, 4 for 9 from 3. And you get those threes, 2 from Spear, 1 from Samiel, 1 from Kaya Harrison. Clemson started 5 for 8 from the field, Kelly. They are 2 for 10 since that start. Contact there as Robinson loses the handle, and both Robinson and Scruggs tied up there.
There was a lot of contact, but Scruggs is tough. Scruggs is that combination of she has strength, so she can guard someone like Amari Robinson, and she's quick too. She's quick for her size, so she can be a really good post defender. For this Wake team that is somewhat undersized anyway, that had to have been a double dribble somehow. Scruggs is really embodies what they do. She's an undersized player who plays down low and is able to overcome that lack of size.
So 24-17, 6:30 left to go in the second quarter. Clemson yet to score here in this second quarter. 8 points for Wake Forest, 0 for the Tigers. Robinson puts it on the floor, she travels. So back-to-back turnovers on 2 possessions here. It's the 5th turnover for Clemson.
Right now it feels like Clemson is asking a lot from its post players. Perpignan has 6, and she's played well at the point guard spot. But the guards need to be able to get in that lane and give and go and kind of get some easy looks for the post. You're asking a lot to just give the ball to Amari Robinson around that ACC logo or the extended elbow and say, go score. That's difficult to do.
Scruggs, quick look underneath. Hines couldn't handle it. Pass a little bit too hot. That's turnover number 4 for Wake Forest, so starting to pile up here in the second quarter.
The other thing, too, for the Tigers is that they want this game to be a little faster. The pace, which we talked about in the first quarter, is benefiting Wake Forest. They want this to be a half-court game. Clemson wants to speed things up. The problem is, Sam, if you don't make shots, you can't set up your press. And so we've seen that issue for the Tigers in this quarter.
Perpignan's pass touched by Nia Becker, and last touch by Michaela Elmore. You got to figure one of these possessions we won't have a turnover.
We haven't had that many. The first quarter was very clean. The second quarter has become sloppier. Tigers sticking in that zone despite Wake's hot shooting. This aggressive, sometimes they choose to trap, sometimes not, but this aggressive zone is what they do, and so they're sticking with it.
Inbounds underneath. 13 on the shot clock. Nia Becker gets it, top of the key. Williams, bounce pass, back to Harrison. That was a good-looking play. Everything was there but the finish.
That was perfect. Get the ball to the short corner, hit a cutting guard, but you got to make that layup. There's a 5-point swing. You miss a layup on one end, Clemson gets a 3 on the other.
Coming from Alasia Douglas from Omaha, Nebraska, who transferred from Western Nebraska Junior College, was a first-team All-American there following her sophomore season.
I'd love to see Clemson trap a little more out of their zone. That's when it's been so effective. They can wreak havoc there. They trapped a short corner, which was good for the Tigers. And sometimes, Sam, you can trap if you're in a zone. The most often trap you think of is to trap the wing, like trap the first pass, for example. But I like keeping that in there where you trap the short corner because teams are not ready necessarily for that.
First foul on Nia Becker there as Clemson has come back within 4 here in this tight one in Winston-Salem. Okay, so we are timeout, not the case. So we play on here, Kelly.
In the second quarter, the first called timeout becomes the under 5, which is one of the ways they've tried to speed up the flow of the women's game, and I like it because as a player, unless it's a late game situation and you know you need it strategy-wise, I hated timeouts. I just want to keep playing, and you want that flow to stay with the game. So I like that rule change that we implemented a couple years ago.
Foul was on Michaela Elmore, her first. Nice backdoor cut by Elise Williams. And an even better find.
That time Clemson did trap on the wing, and when you do trap, help side has to be there. You have 2 players on 1, so everyone else has to rotate, and Clemson just got lost. Good job by Wake.
Alexandria Scruggs having a really good second quarter here. A couple of assists and 4 points.
Exactly what you want from your senior coming off the bench to give you these types of minutes.
Great defense by Perpignan. Spear still with the ball. Finds Elise Williams in the corner with 15 on the shot clock. Into the high post, Samiel turns. Back out to Scruggs. Scruggs driving, and an offensive foul as Perpignan was right in the way.
Here's that previous possession where Clemson brings a trap. And Elise Williams is able to sneak by Amari Robinson. Amari's worried about the guard up top. That was a good presence of mind by Elise Williams to understand they're trapping. We can now play kind of a 5-on-4 situation if I can find the open spot in the zone.
Deanna Gaines tries baseline, cut off by Scruggs. Douglas for 3. And the board to Elise Williams. And that's an offensive foul.
A little chicken wing action there, Sam Ravitch. That's what they called her for. Extending her, I believe it was her right arm. Yeah, Alasia Douglas did her job selling that a bit. But the officials are on guard for that. For any sort of, when you're the offensive player, extension of your arm, hooking, lowering your shoulder, they are going to call that. So you've got to be aware.
And we've seen that called, I think, more frequently this year than last year. It's certainly been a point of emphasis. Gaines thought about it. Still no points for Amari Robinson here in this game, the leading scorer for Clemson.
Wake's done a good job keeping Amari away from the basket, pushing her out. As I said earlier, forcing her to catch it 15 feet away and try to create something out of nothing.
4 turnovers in the last 4.5 minutes for Wake Forest. Still with that 6-point lead. As we near halftime, there's another great cut in the zone by Kaya Harrison this time.
Clemson continues to lose these back cuts for Wake Forest. They continue to run a certain form of motion against a zone, a lot of cutting action. Tigers got to be more aware.
Is that more communication on everybody's part? Who's in charge of keeping track of those cutters?
Most of the time for your zone, it's going to be either the player in the middle, the 5 player, or I think for Amari being the 4 player. It's the back half of the zone, because the top part of the zone for Clemson is really trying to be disruptive, to trap, to get their hands in the face of the Wake player who has the ball, but the communication has to come from the back. The other part of that too, Sam, is that the guards do have to apply a little more ball pressure to not let those cuts be as visible.
All right, here's our Tuesday college basketball doubleheader right here on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Blake Hinson and Pittsburgh hosting Louisville at 7 Eastern time. Then off to Charlottesville for NC State and number 6 Virginia. Just lost to Virginia Tech, actually, in a tight game yesterday.
I saw Virginia Tech rush the floor. I thought that was interesting. The reigning ACC tournament champs. I know Virginia's top 10, but I don't know. No need to rush the floor there, right?
Are you the authority of court storming now? Kelly Gramlich will tell
Apparently
you
so.
When you can and cannot storm the court. There's that double team you were talking about, KG, causing problems in the corner, and it leads to a turnover.
The trap in the short corner. I really like that wrinkle that Clemson is using, because when you trap in the short corner, you also have the baseline as another defender. A little harder to get out of there than just trapping on the wing. The short corner is that area, kind of the block extended, that area of the zone. And a lot of teams want to get it to the short corner because you can hit a cutter really easily. And Clemson knows that, so you almost bait them into giving it to the short corner, and then boom, you trap.
Second foul on Kaya Harrison as Brie Perpignan will go to the free throw line. Talk about the boost that Perpignan has provided to this Clemson team this year. Transfer from Elon, where she was a 1,000-point scorer. Now more than 1,200 points in her career, but she helps get Nunu Bradford off the ball a little bit more. And That was something that Nunu had to do last year, which she's playing a little bit more in that 2 spot this year.
And Coach Butler knew she had to go get a veteran player to replace Delisha Washington, who did so much for them at the 1-2 spot. And Perpignan has fit in flawlessly with this team.
And Perpignan had 13 points and a season-high 7 assists the last time these two teams met on New Year's Day. As Spear creates space, the 3 a little bit short, out of bounds, and it will be Clemson basketball.
And that was a good job by Amari Robinson to run Spear off the 3-point line, basically make her put the ball on the floor. Spear still found a way to step back and get behind the line, but it's a much more difficult shot than that initial shot she would have had if Robinson didn't run her off.
Just 5 points for the Tigers here in this quarter. Kiana Gaines trying to end that. And the shot comes up short. She was looking for a touch on it. Certainly the Wake Forest fans were looking for it. Will be Clemson basketball underneath as Maddie Ott will check into the game.
So they're saying it was tipped by Demira Hines. I can see that. We probably need to see more zoomed in, but the officials have the best view down there on the floor.
So Robinson 0 for 2 here to start this game. Leading scorer for this team for Clemson, 13.5 points per game, also 7 rebounds a game. Alyssa Andrews in and out for 3. I'll tell you what, Kelly, neither of these teams are really shy about taking threes. I mean, despite the fact that they both shoot it around 30%, Clemson has about 510 3-point attempts, which ranks 2nd in the ACC. Wake Forest has taken the 4th most threes in the ACC this year. Kiana Gaines had it lined up. Wake Forest fans wanted to travel, didn't get it. Shot clock winding down. Out of bounds in Wake Forest basketball.
And Sam, that possession is what I'm talking about. Giving the ball to Amari Robinson at the elbow extended and saying, go make a play. In such a small area. That's very difficult to do.
So at the half, Wake Forest leads at 28-22. Wake Forest 9-4 when leading at the half of this season as well. Keep in mind, they came back from a 9-0 run earlier. In the meantime, we'll send it up to our friends in Bristol, Drew Carter and Ivory Latta. Guys, so Clemson averages just about 10 steals per game. They had 1 steal as a team in that entire first half. And they're one of the better teams, talk about active hands. Clemson is up there with the best of them. Those 10 steals per game ranked 2nd in the ACC. See if they can get that defense going here in the second half, as the ball will start with Clemson. And it will start with a Jewel Spear missed 3. Gets her own rebound, though.
And I think Clemson will take that. I know Spear missed, but you're able to force Spear into a contested shot. They trapped up top, make Wake Forest uncomfortable. You're going to give up some open looks if you have that kind of pressure, but you're also going to create those steals that were missing, as you said, Sam, in the first half.
Now, Wake Forest has 7 offensive rebounds. They rank last in the conference in offensive rebounding. They've really been active on the O boards as Amari Robinson gets her first points of the game here to start the second half.
Much better position to get the ball inside to Amari Robinson. That time on the block, Amari turns around, hits an easy jumper. I love that positioning for her much more than the elbow extended.
Demira Hines powers her way to an and 1. Demira Hines now 4 points on the game, a perfect 2 for 2.
And has not gotten in foul trouble. That has been an issue in the past for Demira Hines, but she's been able to stay on the floor, and she played all 20 minutes of that first half.
Yeah, to your point, Kelly, the issue for Demira Hines last year was just staying on the floor. 73 fouls on the season in 2021. She averaged a foul just about every 5 minutes or so. Those numbers are certainly down this year, and when she's on the floor, this is a different Wake Forest team. Jumper for Robinson, and a quick 4 points for Amari Robinson, the leading scorer for the Clemson Tigers here in the third quarter.
Get the ball to your best player. Sometimes that's all you got to do, Sam Rabbit.
And the steal for Perpignan, we just talked about it. Clemson, they can get that press set up. This is a dangerous defensive team.
And they're trapping out of that impressive. While entrapping a post player outside of the three-point line where she's very uncomfortable, as most post players are.
So now a 2-point game. Long three for Spear, comes up short, and Ruby Whitehorn out leading the break for the Tigers. Whitehorn's going to try and take it herself, and she travels.
That was an interesting call. I'm not sure, and I think Coach Butler's a little frustrated with that call. There was definitely some contact, and at times we'll see an official call a travel on a Euro step, and the Euro step is very legal, so I thought that was an interesting call.
Both teams shooting about 40% from the field here in this game.
Got that short corner.
Hines somehow able to get a pass off to Harrison, who turns it over.
This is what, honestly, I think we both expected to see
from
Clemson in the first half, and perhaps the Deacs having that second quarter woke Clemson up, and maybe some choice words from Coach Butler at the half, Sam, just some speculation.
That's what I was going to say. I'm sure that Coach Butler had some words for her team as Clemson comes out now on a 6-0 run, and they have tied the game up at 30 apiece. Harrison backs out, double team comes. Williams had trouble handling the pass. Ball in the hands of Spear. 5 to shoot, gets it into Williams again on a backdoor cut.
That's a great pass. That's part of what Jewel Spear has really improved on. When she's drawing all that attention, which of course she does, she has become a much more willing and I just think better passer. Her vision has improved this year.
Foul on the floor. It's going against Kaya Harrison. It's going to be the third foul on Kaya Harrison here. Got 7 points for the Demon Deacons. As the officials get together, quick conversation. Ball would be taken out underneath the basket with Nunu Bradford. As Alexandria Scruggs will check into the game, had a great second quarter, 4 points and 3 assists. So she comes in for Harrison with those 3 fouls.
Speaking of foul trouble, Clemson didn't have Hannah Hank for basically that whole second quarter. I think they missed her. She has the ability to spread the floor from that 4 spot.
There she is getting the offensive rebound and a fresh 20 on the shot clock for Clemson. Here's Hannah Hank wide open for 3. Can't connect as Hines brings in the rebound, make it 5 for Demira Hines. And a little backcourt pressure causes a turnover.
And this is what you expect. This is what we thought we would see a little more of from Clemson in the first half. And that time, Elise Williams is saying, someone else come help. I'm being denied the ball here. Can someone else just come up and get the ball and we don't have to worry about that?
A lot of shots and some makes from Clemson, about that 8-foot to 10-foot mark here.
Right, they're getting good looks. Getting similar looks to what they were getting in that first quarter.
Right. Spear puts it on the floor, and a whistle called.
Spear asking for the shooting foul.
Right. It's going against Nunu Bradford. Actually, Ruby Whitehorn will get credited with the foul, and Spear will go to the line.
And she's asking for that shooting foul, Sam, because this is only Wake Forest's second and third free throw attempts of the game.
Makes the first. All right, keep in mind, every Thursday at 10 Eastern Time, right after our women's basketball doubleheader, the Nothing Net crew will break down the night in the ACC with highlights and analysis of every women's game. Look ahead at the best games on the schedule in the coming week. Coverage you can only get one place right here on the ACC Network and the ESPN apps. You can watch anywhere, anytime. You can watch my friend Kelly Gramlich and all of her friends on Nothing But Net. It's always
so glad we got that promo in, Sam.
Oh,
much needed.
Yeah. Wonder who wanted. We should get that in more.
And the Deacs will be on primetime again.
They sure will.
8 p.m. leading into our Ladies' Night show on Thursday night.
I tell you, we've been so fortunate calling these games this year in the ACC, because you really don't know what you're going to get on any given day, right? I mean, you see Louisville go out and beat number 11 North Carolina today. You see Duke beat number 9 Notre Dame 57-52. So, I mean, it's just everybody's getting beat up here in this conference.
Everybody is fighting and clawing for wins, and that's why this game, as we've emphasized, is so important for these two teams that are trying to get in that top 9 of the ACC. Right now, Charlie Cream has 8 teams in the NCAA tournament from the ACC. I think this conference is good enough to get 9 and probably should get 9. So that's why you want to end up in that spot.
A little miscommunication there between Williams, was looking for Sumiel to slip there. Leads to a turnover. Perpignan with the crossover, draws the double team. Ball out of her hands, out of bounds, and going the other way.
Good defense by Hines, making herself big. Perpignan actually had the pass behind her to Amari Robinson, but sometimes that can be one of the more difficult passes to make. Tigers back in that pressure this time. No steal, but it forces Wake Forest to basically start their offense right now with only 15 seconds left in the shot clock.
Shot clock winding down. Scruggs finds Spear, 5 to shoot, gets a 3 up, in and out. Another offensive rebound as Williams follows it up but can't finish.
Those are the layups you need right now if you're Wake Forest, struggling to shoot it a bit in this quarter. Get an O board, gotta get that layup.
Lasia Douglas's 3 is no good. Robinson hustling for the rebound. Ends in the hands of Elise Williams. No field goals for Wake Forest in the last 2:45. Remember, Clemson scored 5 points in all of the second quarter. They have scored 12 here so far in the third. And we got a tie ball game here, folks, in Winston-Salem, 34-34. Keep it right here.
It's all about stepping up and throwing down. From motivation to coronation.
Most three-pointers in a single game.
Breaking records, brackets, ankles, and new ground. Come for it all.
Something coming, I can feel it. Deep down in my spirit. Greatness. Yeah, it feels like greatness.
3 ball. Let me show you all the swag I got right here.
Legendary in the making.
Elliott Thomas. Virginia is rolling.
Greatness.
With the WBCA and the V Foundation for Cancer Research. Donate at kyow.com. Again, that's kyow.com. And Kelly, since its inception in 2007, the Yow Cancer Fund has awarded $8.18 million to support scientific research and programs that provide access to quality cancer health care for underserved women. It's been really impressive. We had that call with a couple of the board members and some of the people who have really dedicated their lives to the Yow Cancer Fund earlier this week. And it's always an emotional call, I think, when we get on that. But the message is so important and so vital, and it's just an honor to be on these Play for K games and talk about all of those efforts.
And it's amazing the good that can be done and has been done, the money that's been raised, and it all starts with the game of basketball and Yow and her legacy through the game of basketball. And then, of course, it's become so much bigger than that with all the funds raised for women's cancers and for women fighting cancer. And I've had the pleasure, Sam, of playing in the Play for K golf tournament at Pinehurst here in the great state of North Carolina. And last year I happened to be on Coach Butler's team. And as Coach Butler told you in shoot-around, we won. Don't look anything up. Yep. Don't ask what our score was. Just understand we won. That's all you need to know.
Right. And she said that you guys actually broke a record. She didn't say if the record was
I can't specify which record.
Yeah, was it a course record for lowest score or highest score? That was not specified.
Coach Butler may have hit 1 or 2 tee shots in the absolute opposite direction of where the pin was. Yeah. But other than that, we had a great time.
Okay.
Great time was had by all. And I'm sure there's more information about that golf tournament, by the way, at kyow.com. if you want to get involved.
Yes. Ball loose on the floor. Tie ball game here between Wake Forest and Clemson. Possession arrow points towards Clemson. Both these teams 4-8. As we said in the ACC, both teams trying to go for that coveted top 9 spot where you get a first-round bye in the ACC tournament coming up in just a couple of weeks. We, of course, will have all of that coverage on the ACC network starting day 1.
Very excited about that, to have all the games on ACC Network. We'll be there with our studio coverage as well. And Sam, we mentioned this going into the game. Both of these teams have a lot of success when they hold the opponent under 60 points. Well, both teams are looking like they're going to do that today. Right, so the defense has showed up, but which team can put together an offensive run? That is going to be the question.
Perpignan and the block from Demira Hines. Spear, hesitation, gets to the low post and finishes. Jewel Spear leading all scorers in the game with 12.
Coach Gebbia said we want to push and we want to pick our spots to push at times, to get out and run and get easy looks. And that was a great job by Jewel Spear.
And picks it up, ball falls to her feet. Spear again draws the contact. And will go to the line to shoot 2.
In almost the same spot as the previous possession where she was able to score. Hines with the swat. What a block. And then Spear was able to take that the other way, and just more hustle from Hines. I said it before, I'll say it again. I really like what Hines brings to this team. And when she's not in foul trouble, she's a force inside. She brings some toughness and some grit and can really run the floor as well for a player of her size.
Has the capability of being just a double-double machine in this league. We've already seen her on the offensive glass and continues to emerge as a go-to offensive threat in the low post. And again, it's been the foul trouble at times for head coach Megan Gebbia. As we take a look at the tournament resume for the Demon Deacons, you look what they've done in the quad 1 and quad 2, the record of 6-10. 7-0 in the quad 3 and quad 4 opponents, which you will also see on Clemson's side doing very well and no bad losses. But part of the reason, because you play in the ACC, there really are no bad losses in this league.
Bad losses don't exist in this league, and so you're going to play a ton of quad 1 and quad 2 games. And for both Clemson and Wake, when you look at February, there's a lot of opportunities left to help their resume. Clemson has the better net, and the net is something that the committee is really taking into consideration. Clemson's strength of schedule is very high. Playing South Carolina and Arkansas in the non-conference helps that. They have less quad 1 and quad 2 wins than Wake Forest. The Deacs have done a good job there. Clemson also has a signature win over number 7 at the time, Virginia Tech, which helps them. And the Tigers only have one ranked team left on their regular season schedule. So, again, just continues to underscore the point of how important this game is for both teams.
And again, these two met back on New Year's Day. It was a 1-point win for Clemson, 60-59. The way this one's playing out, it's going to come down to the wire again. Turnovers have been an issue for Clemson, certainly in the last couple of minutes in the third quarter. Jewel Spear has scored Wake's last 6 points. Another backdoor read well by Amari Robinson there. Was able to get it out and up to Gaines, who lays it up and in.
Great example of Amari Robinson reading that pass, but also knowing your personnel, KYP, knowing that Kiana Gaines is probably the most athletic player on the team. I can throw the ball up to her in the open floor, and she's going to be able to catch it, collect herself, and make a play.
Kiana Gaines has 5 in the game, and Spear fouled on the shot by Nunu Bradford. That's her first.
We've talked about these backdoor cuts. Scruggs trying to direct traffic. Amari Robinson read it well. And a good pass to Gaines. And an even better job. That is so hard to do, Sam, to catch and then collect yourself and know where you are in the open floor and get a bucket.
So Jewel Spear to the free throw line, makes the first. All right, here's Thursday night women's basketball doubleheader. Olivia Miles, the triple-double machine, leading number 9
The Fighting Irish against Pitt at 6 Eastern time. Then Diamond Johnson, number 15, NC State, taking on Jules Spear and his Wake Forest Demon Deacon group. Should be another great night of women's hoops right here on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. And keep in mind, by the way, after this game, we will be done for ACC women's basketball today. But tomorrow, Virginia Tech and NC State at 6 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN2. Make sure you tune in to that one, because that will be a great matchup.
It will, and that's NC State's big Play for K game at home. So that's always an emotional night and a big night for the K-Yow Fund. It's worth watching, for sure.
We will certainly all be tuning into that one. That's foul number 4 on Kaya Harrison as she heads to the bench with those 4 fouls and 7 points on the evening.
Sam, the big difference in this third quarter, because Clemson got off to that quick start, Wake is 6 for 7 from the free throw line in this quarter. Clemson now 1 for 4. So the Deacs doing a much better job of getting to the free throw line in this third quarter. Clemson actually in some man-to-man on this possession.
Spear open for 3. Too strong. Fight for the rebound. Hank hits the deck. Out of bounds, and it's going to stay here with Wake Forest.
A rare situation where Clemson, and I know that's not what Coach Butler wants them to do, went under the screen against Jules Spear. She got an open look from 3, and she missed it. That is not a risk you should take with Jules Spear. You should always get over the ball screen with Spear. The Tigers back in that zone now.
Elise Williams kicks it out. Scruggs takes it right back in. Gets a paint touch. Finds Demira Hines working on Hank. Scruggs, foot on the line. Too short. Another fight for the rebound. Loose ball. Out of bounds. Last touch by Hannah Hank there. As Wake Forest continues to fight for the offensive glass and the offensive rebound. Samuel a bit slow to get to her feet. Coach Butler not thrilled with the call.
Or the lack of call, really, on some contact. But to your point, Sam, offensive rebounds have been a huge difference maker in this game. Clemson only has 5. Wake Forest has 11. It feels like Wake has been a lot more active on the offensive glass.
And again, this is a Wake Forest team that ranks last in the ACC in offensive rebound. Remember, Wake Forest made 4 threes in the first quarter, Kelly. They have not made one since.
And to me, that's part of why Coach Butler stayed in the zone. Not that she can predict the future, but because Wake only shoots 31% from 3. You're just banking on the fact that, yeah, they hit 4 in the first quarter. They're not going to hit 4 every quarter. And she has been proven right in that regard.
Started 4 for 9 in the first quarter. So that's an 0 for 8 mark in their last 8 threes.
Big hands.
Perpignan fouled on her way to the basket. It's going against Olivia Samuel, and we'll be shooting free throws.
But honestly, Sam, that's a good foul. Prevent the break. Because Perpignan was going to get a wide open layup there. Foul her. Sumiel's not in foul trouble, so there's no real issue there, and force Clemson to earn those points from the free throw line.
Clemson now 6 for 11 from the free throw line here in this game. Brie Perpignan, one of the better free throw shooters at 73% of the season, and makes both.
It's all about getting the right players to the free throw line. Clemson was 8 for 16 from the line against Miami. You have to think they make 1 or 2 more of those, that game could have been different.
1-point ball game here, 10 seconds to play in the third quarter. Wake Forest trying to extend that lead heading into the fourth. Williams drives, kicks, 3 for Spear. No good. Perpignan able to get a long shot off, and it comes up just short. A good effort from Brie Perpignan. But folks, we got a 1-point ball game heading to the fourth quarter here. Keep it on the ACC Network.
When you go into Maya Angelou Hall for class, you got to come prepared, right?
You better.
It's just a different feel It's very cool, that connection to Wake Forest here with Maya Angelou.
Imagine how cool it would have been to take that class, too.
I know, right? Wow.
Starting the fourth quarter here, Alexandria Scruggs, wide open lane to the basket, and Wake Forest leads at 42-39.
That's just a defensive breakdown right there, Sam.
Douglas takes it in. Short jumper is good. Alasia Douglas having herself a pretty nice game. Made a 3 earlier.
Douglas has given them some good minutes off the bench. And that's a big shot for the Tigers. We've talked about keeping both teams trying to keep the other team under 60. This might be a first to 50 situation wins.
On the shot clock for Williams. Scruggs cutting, got poked by Eno Inyang.
Wake has done a really good job of putting pressure on this Clemson zone with those backdoor cuts and being active on the backside, just finding those little openings on the backside of the zone.
Williams to inbound it underneath. Gets a cutting to Mira Hines, who immediately travels. So, you know, you got 9 minutes left. We know this game's going to be coming down to the wire. Give me a couple of keys for both sides here, KG.
Well, for Clemson, I think you have to continue to go to Amari Robinson like they did in the third quarter. Get her a bit more involved. She's been one of your more efficient players. She's still your best scorer, and I think just best offensive player overall. And then for Wake Forest, Jewel Spear, it feels like it's a matter of time before she hits a few threes in this fourth quarter because she's been cold in the last couple of quarters. But hey, Clemson on the other end knocking down some threes. Perhaps the team that can make 1 or 2 threes in the fourth quarter can get it done.
First lead for Clemson since it was 17-16. Wow. And by the way, that's what the score was at the end of the first quarter. 17-16, Clemson led it. Now lead at 44-42. Ruby Whitehorn, baseline floater, no good. Gets her own rebound, somehow gets it back to Hannah Hank. And the ball gets stuck. Jump ball, possession error to Clemson.
Would love to see Whitehorn on that situation use her Euro instead of just pulling up for a really tough floater. But good job by Whitehorn to find Perpignan for a big 3 from Perpignan, who's played a great game. 14 points, 5 for 8 from the floor.
ACC leaders, 3-point column there. Wake Forest and Clemson, again, both of these teams don't necessarily shoot it all that well. Virginia Tech, Florida State shoot it at a higher percentage. But Wake Forest and Clemson take a lot of threes, and that was just the third made 3 of the game. Perpignan trying to go 2 for 2 here, and she does! In the fourth quarter, a couple of huge baskets. And that's not going to count. Let's see what the call was there. Okay, so the basket will count. The foul is going to be on Clemson's Hannah Hank, her third.
So they're calling Hannah Hank for that swim move. You saw it at the very end of the highlight. And it was after Perpignan made the shot. So I think it was the right call to keep the 3 points. But Hannah Hank was, I see what they did there, calling the swim move, trying to go for the O-board.
Third foul on Amari Robinson on the other end for Clemson. Take another look here, Clemson.
This is good execution for Clemson to get the ball to Perpignan, and then you see Hannah Hank full-on freestyle there. Like she's swimming the freestyle Michael Phelps style. She was trying to attack for that offensive board, I get it. But I'm glad they didn't take away the 3, because Perpignan deserved all 3 of those. Right. That was a great shot.
So Elise Williams ends the 8-0 run that Clemson was on here in the fourth. You got to think, too, how important free throws are going to be in this game, considering the score and how low scoring it is. When you get those free opportunities, that may be the difference.
Clemson 7 for 12 from the free throw line. Wake 7 for 9.
Hannah Hank cutting right on the logo and hits. Hannah Hank, that's her spot right there. She's got 6.
Great pass by Amari Robinson. Hannah Hank and Amari Robinson play really well together at the 4-5 spot.
Poked away, and Alasia Douglas kind of providing that spark for the Clemson Tigers defensively.
Gets fouled on the reverse layup.
We've talked about Clemson being second in the ACC in steals, averaging 10 steals per game. At halftime, they had 1 steal, Sam. You brought that up. It was a great point. They have 8 in this second half. They have played much more of the brand of basketball that they want to play in the second half.
Malaysia Douglas at the line for Clemson. Shoots at 58%, makes the first. Here's our Tuesday college basketball doubleheader right here on the ACC Network and ESPN app. Pittsburgh hosting Louisville at 7 Eastern time, then off to Charlottesville for NC State and number 6 UVA. And that's Tuesday here on the ACC Network. 12-1 run for the Clemson Tigers, Kelly. 51-43 with 7:22 left to play.
Was a tight one, 60-59, truly the first team to 61, which is what we've been talking about. And of course, Clemson, this was the final shot. Hanahan gets the block to seal the deal. Wake had every chance in the world to win it or send it to overtime on that final possession. When these two get together, it is going to be a tight matchup. Ruby Whitehorn actually played really well in that first matchup. She's been quieter. Other players have stepped up. Brie Perpignan has been the main catalyst for Clemson offensively. But even though Clemson is up 8, we know the history from that previous matchup. We know how these two play each other twice every year. This game is far from over if we look at the series history.
Yeah, my New Year's resolution was to kind of limit the anxiety and the stress. That did not help. Having that game on New Year's Day, you and I were on the call.
I think the coaches would agree with you.
Right. 10-second violation.
Yeah, and you look at the shot clock. The shot clock was at 18, so Coach Butler was very right to be calling for that. The whole bench was calling for it as they were engaged. And that's the last thing, if you're Coach Gebbia, to have that happen out of a timeout is really frustrating for a coach.
That is turnover number 18 for Wake Forest, and Clemson has really turned it on defensively here, but there's the defense on the other side. Alyssa Andrews getting involved for Wake Forest. I think that's how Wake Forest is going to turn their offense on a little bit, getting a couple stops on the defensive side as well.
You read my mind, Sam. They can get stops, but they're going to have to make something happen offensively. And when you want something to happen, you give the ball to Jewel Spear at the logo and just say, shoot it, Sam.
63 threes on the year for Jewel Spear. Made 3 here in this game. Good positioning for Robinson. Tries to kick it out. Read well by Kaya Harrison, who's playing on 4 fouls, by the way.
Very much read well there. And Amari Robinson, for some reason, she was only looking left. The double was coming from her left. If she had spun right, one hard power dribble, go right, she would have had a layup.
And shot clock winding down here. Perpignan from the elbow. Tough shot and a tough make for Brie Perpignan. How about her today? 19 points to lead all scorers, are tied with Jewel Spear.
Perpignan has been absolutely excellent. Every time Clemson needs a big shot, Brie Perpignan has delivered.
A shovel pass there. Scruggs couldn't handle it. Whitehorn on the floor. 3-on-3 going the other way. Perpignan dumps it off. Robinson up with the left hand.
And there's Perpignan again. Great pass, had the numbers, attacked hard. Defense came off of Amari Robinson for just a split second, and Perpignan was able to find it.
Largest lead of the game, 55-46. As Robinson brings in the rebound. Quickly up ahead. Hank, nice catch, couldn't finish.
That was a tough catch. And in order to justify that, you got to make the layup, because as Coach Butler, you're seeing her over there on the sidelines, or at least I am, at least from our viewpoint, you want to slow it down a bit there with this kind of lead.
A couple of missed threes here, one from Spear, one from Andrews.
And that's what Clemson's going to do on this possession. 9-point lead, under 5 minutes. You still want to look to score and get a good shot, but you might as well use some clock while you're doing it.
Bradford penetrates, draws the contact, and gets the foul. 55-46, 4:43 to play here in Winston-Salem. Stick around.
Running a food pantry can be a lot of work.
Has 8. She's outscored the Deacs by herself. Clemson is known, Sam, I don't know if you know this, for making their own blue cheese. They need to start making some Brie, because Brie Perpignan has been lights out in this fourth quarter and really in the game for the Tigers. So I am starting the trend here. The blue cheese is delicious, but we need some Clemson Brie, because Brie Perpignan is just that good.
I'll take you behind the curtain here. Kelly told me, I'm trying to think of some cheese phrases, some puns coming out of the break. I said, I'm looking forward to it. That was really good. Really good.
My other option was, I've never asked Coach Butler what her favorite cheese is on a charcuterie board.
Yeah.
But right now, I think it's Brie.
It has to be with the way she's played.
Gotta be the Brie.
19 points, Brie Perpignan, 19, 7 for 10 from the field, 2 for 3 from beyond the arc. As Nunu Bradford is at the line trying to make this a 10-point game. Can't do it. Scruggs brings in the rebound. Free throw's been a bit of an issue for Clemson here in this game, but the defense in the second half has not. Nunu Bradford couldn't finish on the left hand.
It was a great steal by Nunu Bradford, but didn't get the finish and had a pretty open layup in the open floor.
Foul on Brie Perpignan. That's her second. Again, Clemson had 1 steal in the first half. They have 11 total, so 10 steals here in the second half. Spear for 3. Rattles off, and a foul underneath the basket. And it's going to stay here with Wake Forest. Second on Ruby Whitehorn.
At this point, Sam, under 5, down 9. The Deacs have got to find a way to get some offense going. Getting to the free throw line is big. You want to score while the clock is stopped at this point. But it feels like Jewel Spear is going to have to make a big shot or 2 to get Wake Forest back in this game.
Demira Hines, 32% free throw shooter, makes the first. Just her 9th made free throw of the season, but she's only taken now 26. And she makes both. A couple of big free throws. There's still a lot of time left in this game, Kelly.
A lot of time for these two teams that always play close games.
4:15 to play here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Both of these teams 4-8 in ACC play. Perpignan left wide open for 3. And out of bounds will go Wake Forest way. And considering that Perpignan has made 2 threes already, surprised to see her that wide open.
That was a lucky break for Wake Forest, just to be honest. They lost Perpignan defensively. She was 2 for 3 from beyond the arc, and Wake Forest has to capitalize off of that.
She might have been surprised how open she was
exactly.
there. Wake Forest able to break the pressure here. Where does Wake go to get the offense?
Where do you think, Sam Ravitch?
Jewel Spear, corner 3, there it is!
Spear the Spear! I don't care. Jewel Spear could be 2 for 50. I would say give her the ball.
Jewel
I think Coach Chevia has that much confidence in her as well, and Spear has that much confidence in herself as she steps back to knock down that 3.
4 made threes for Jewel Spear. She's got 22. Nice post move from Robinson. Again, quiet. Didn't have any points in the first half. She's got 8 here in the second. Spear, transition 3. Oh, are you kidding me? It's a 3-point ball game with 3:10 to play. Jewel Spear, back-to-back threes.
This is what she does. You can't let her get any sort of open look like that, Sam, especially in these clutch moments.
Nunu Bradford spins around, kicks it out. Whitehorn coming over to steal it, get a hand on it, at least was Harrison. Here she is in the open floor. Wake Forest has a chance to tie up this game here.
Shoot it from there, Jewel. Just pull it.
Gets open. Oh, Jewel Spear! She's made 6 threes in the game. She's got 28 points, and we are tied 57-57.
Unbelievable. Jewel Spear on a 9-0 run of her own.
Robinson on Hines. And a timeout is called by Coach Amanda Butler for Clemson. It is 57-all, thanks in large part completely to Jewel Spear, Kelly.
This is why this woman must be feared. Hide your kids, hide everybody, because Jewel Spear's at it again.
Well, Kelly, Jewel Spear has scored 20 of Wake Forest's last 25 points. She has made 6 threes in the game. You see her second half versus the first half. I mean, my goodness, can she just turn the game on its head?
She's an absolute game changer. And there are only certain players that can do that can completely take over a game. And that's what she has done in a really short amount of time, has made this game a game.
Demira Hines blocks it, and a shot clock violation is called. And the Wake Forest crowd getting into it.
Sam, it felt like Clemson had this one in the back.
Sure did.
And we were saying these two always play close games. It's going to be close. Did I really believe it? Not really. I'm going to be honest. I thought this game was over. I thought Clemson had it. The way Perpignan was playing, the way Clemson was getting stops defensively. But Jewel Spear is just different, and she can score in bunches. The 3-ball is the ultimate weapon, especially in the women's game. And Jewel Spear has willed her team back into it.
She averages about 3 made threes a game. She's doubled that here today. Ball in her hands, guarded by Brie Perpignan, who's had a terrific game for Clemson today. Really good defense. Into the corner. Williams takes it in another step, floats it up, no good.
At this point for Clemson, the defensive game plan is anybody but 24.
Right.
I'll give anybody else a look, but not Jewel Spear. So that was well executed.
Tigers trying to end a 6-0 run. Where do they go?
I would go to Perpignan.
Whitehorn fouled on the drive by Demira Hines. It's actually going to go against Kaya Harrison. That's going to be number 5. So Harrison done, 5 fouls, 7 points on the day for Harrison, but you get Alexandria Scruggs coming in the game for the Demon Deacons, who has had a really nice game off the bench.
She has. The only thing where I think that really affects Wake is if this game possibly goes to overtime.
Long inbounds. Hines had the height advantage. Who's it last touched by? Hines got the hand on it. Will be Clemson basketball with 1:14 left to play in the game.
Sam, if I'm Clemson, give me some 2-man game with Amari Robinson and Brie Perpignan.
All right, so the officials are going to take a look at this, see who it was last touched by. All right, our next All Access, the ACC Life, is a very special one. It premieres tomorrow night. We'll take an emotional journey with ACC student athletes and administrators from all 15 ACC institutions who travel to Montgomery and Selma, Alabama to experience and learn more about the civil rights movement, highlighted by a march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Dallin Cuff will host ACC Unite Selma to Montgomery at 7 Eastern Time right here on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. All right, so that was a quick review.
Stays Clemson basketball.
And it will stay Clemson basketball, as we just heard. Here's another look at it, KG.
They're reviewing who it was off of. I do think from that angle and the fact that they didn't take much time at all, which I appreciate from the officials, that ball was off of Demira Hines. But we want to review these things under 2 minutes. Want to make sure we get this right.
Just about a minute to play here. All tied, 57-all. Nice bounce pass. Eno Enyang probably could have gone up with it right away, but got fouled anyway, so she'll go to the line.
Hesitated for a second, but still drew the foul. And I love what they did there. 2-man game with Amari Robinson and Brie Perpignan. Perpignan refused the screen, drove baseline, and a great dish off to Eno Enyang.
4th foul on Elise Williams. And Owenyang to the line, makes the first. All right, so we talked about this earlier. You see the race to 60. When Clemson allows less than 60 points, they are 11-1. When Wake allows less than 60 points, they are 12-1.
The real question is, can either of these teams hold
Right.
one of them under 60? I'm not sure we're going to see that. But in the first matchup, the final score was Clemson 60, Wake 59. So it really fit into that trend.
See Jewel Spear asking for the ball here, finally gets it. And she's triple teamed almost immediately once she crosses over the timeline.
Anybody but Spear. That's what Clemson's thinking. That's what Coach Butler's thinking.
Are you surprised they're not trying to face guard her a little bit more here in the half court? She's able to get open here in the corner. Scruggs drives, has it poked away. Shot clock winding down. Somebody's got to get a shot off. Scruggs fading away, and it's able to make something out of nothing. Alexandria Scruggs ties it up 59-all with 35 seconds to go.
Besides Jewel
The
Spear,
ruling on the court is a made
Scruggs
basket. The player's under review for potential shot clock violation.
Scruggs has been the next most important player on the floor for Wake Forest this evening. And let's take another look at it. They're reviewing if she got it off before the shot clock expired. I think she did.
I think so.
Before we saw the red light, it just has to leave her hand before the clock hits 0. That's all we're asking for. And yes, I
Ruling
believe
on the court is confirmed.
that
Made
she
basket.
definitely got that off, and the officials confirmed that. And we're in for another thriller. Truly sad. 35 seconds left,
Right.
59-59. Which team can score 60 points? Our producer, Everett Hutto, would like to confirm that overtime does not count for that 60-point stat, which he was a big champion of for this broadcast, and I agree with it. Overtime would negate the
Right.
stat.
These two teams met on New Year's Day. It was a 1-point win for Clemson, 60-59. It is 59-59 right now. Just about 4-second difference between the shot clock and the game clock. Brie Perpignan with the ball. Robinson, wide open for 3. No good. Hustle for the rebound, last touch by Wake Forest. It will be Clemson basketball. Shot clock will be off with 14 to play. And a timeout called by Coach Butler. Going to be drawing up a play here, Kelly. What's she going to be talking about in this huddle?
Well, first of all, Sam, this is reminiscent of Clemson's game on Thursday night against Miami. They had 3 chances to win the game in regulation. They kept getting offensive rebounds. One of those was a Hannah Hank 3 that she missed. It wasn't an Amari Robinson 3. Another one was a Nunu Bradford. So it feels like deja vu. Clemson was just in this situation. You're running a baseline out of bounds. I would love to get a look for Perpignan. I think you have plenty of time here. You don't need to try to throw a lob to a post player inside. I would look for that down screen for Perpignan to get the ball in the corner on either side to get a good look from 3. Obviously, you don't need a 3, but that has worked before for them. And if not, if you don't get a good look off the initial blob, get Perpignan at the top, set her a ball screen with Amari Robinson, and let her go to work.
Inbounds underneath. Perpignan has the ball in her hands. Leading scorer with 19 points for Clemson. Alasia Douglas.
Get her the rock.
Here's Perpignan. 5 left. Perpignan with the ball. Douglas, 1 dribble, a shot. No good, we're heading to overtime. Not sure it was the look that they wanted, Kelly, but nonetheless, end of regulation, some extra basketball coming here in Winston-Salem. 59-59 is our score. Stick around, we'll be right back.
The game, so Clemson has been in this position just a couple days ago.
I think it's safe to say, too, Wake Forest would not be in this position were it not for Jewel Spear and what she did in the 4th quarter. Total of 28 points, 6 made threes in the game. And still, Jewel Spear has scored 20 of Wake Forest's last 27 points. which is just silly. We got a fresh 5 to play here in overtime. A little bit of foul trouble as well for Wake Forest. Kaya Harrison is fouled out, and there are 4 fouls for Elise Williams, the second leading scorer for Wake Forest. So keep an eye on that. Nobody for Clemson has 4 fouls.
And Sam, it just shows how much Clemson believes in their zone, because in this situation, you mentioned it earlier with Spear, you'd think you'd face guard her, you'd box in one, you'd do something, but Clemson has stuck with that zone despite Spear going up.
I know Inyang got a hand in there. Sumiel brought in the rebound. That'll be the 3rd personal on Eno Inyang. And Wake Forest will be shooting now in the bonus.
It's a good reminder that the fouls do not reset when you go into overtime. And so Wake Forest in the bonus, Clemson not yet there. Free throws will be big for the Deeks.
So you took a look at the tournament resume for Wake Forest, what they've done in quad 1, quad 2, 6 wins, 10 losses, no quad 3 or quad 4 losses, 7-0. And 80 in the net is not going to help, but here's what may help. You look at the upcoming schedule, plenty of opportunities, KG.
And they get NC State and Florida State at home. All 4 of their ACC wins have come at home. The Deeks like playing in this building.
So 61-59 now. Clemson with the ball. Looking inside. Inyang got fouled. Wake Forest fans not going to like it. Going against Hines. It's just her 2nd. And again, this is a player, Demira Hines, who has had foul issues, but just 2 fouls here in this game. Another big reason why Wake Forest has been in this one.
And now Clemson in the bonus with that foul. So both teams in the bonus for the remainder of this overtime period.
How about Clemson's tournament resume, Kelly? Because they've had a couple of signature wins. We've talked about the win over Virginia Tech. They were ranked 7th at the time.
The net is a lot stronger, and the committee definitely looks at the net because of that schedule, a tough non-conference for Clemson, and they have the win over Virginia Tech, which is huge. And you look at their remaining schedule, only 1 ranked team left. They have 3 of those games at home. A win at Louisville would be huge. A win at Miami would be massive when you look at their net, that win on the road. A lot of opportunities for Clemson. But it starts here.
Sure does. Wake Forest able to break the press. Alexandria Scruggs has been a difference maker in this game, now in double-figure scoring with 10. Perpignan crossover. Williams got a hand in there. Inyang wide open underneath. How about the eyes and the vision for Inyang to find Robinson?
I really like what we've seen from the post-to-post passing from Clemson in this game. And right now, Coach Butler going with 3 bigs, Hank, Inyang, and Robinson all on the floor.
Scruggs on the wing. Spear.
Good job by Douglas. Run her off the line, make her give it up.
And a travel. Sumiel, too many steps, turns it back over, and Clemson a chance to take the lead.
Good pass from Inyang to Amari Robinson. Sam, sometimes the best player to find a post player is a fellow post because they understand what that post player is thinking and how they're trying to get position.
Top of the key, Perpignan thought about it. Got 19 points to lead Clemson today. Inyang at the free throw line. No help there. Has to kick it out with 10 on the shot clock. Into the corner, Hannah Hank. Quick 3, too strong. And Demira Hines brings in the rebound. That's her 7th of the game.
Good recovery and contest by Scruggs on that 3. Hannah Hank's a 35% three-point shooter, so you got to get out there, and she did just that.
So Jewel Spear has gone a little bit quiet since she made those 3 threes in the 4th quarter. Williams will try for 3 and connect. Elise Williams has 8 points and a massive made 3 to give Wake Forest a 4-point lead.
That was huge. What a shot from Elise Williams.
Coach Jebbia able to get the timeout called as Alexandria Scruggs was fighting for the loose ball.
Elise Williams, they leave her open. All that attention. Spear is drawing on the other end, and she knocks it down.
Since I was little, I wanted to be a part of it.
Continues in the ACC here today. Overtime between Wake Forest and Clemson. But earlier, Kelly, number 11 North Carolina went down. Louisville won that one 62-55. And number 16 Duke going to Notre Dame and taking down the 9th-ranked team in the nation 57-52.
You can always count on chaos in the ACC. North Carolina, of course, playing without Alyssa Usby and Eva Hodgson, but still, winning at Louisville is one of the toughest things to do in the country.
So now it's Duke who has the sole lead at the top of the ACC, and I think there's 5 or 6 teams now within 2 games of first place Duke, which is just crazy, and all the more reason to watch ACC basketball down the stretch of the season here. Shot clock winding down in overtime. Elise Williams' 3 is no good, and the shot clock went off. And a foul against Scruggs going the other way.
That was a weird possession because you hear the shot clock buzzer go off if you're Scruggs, but you grab that rebound in time. They had the ball in time. They were going to get another 20 seconds, and so Scruggs almost didn't know what to do. Looked at Coach Gebbia. Coach Gebbia said play, and then she ends up committing the offensive foul. And Sam, I think it's tough when you're the team that feels like you should have won in regulation, which is probably Clemson at this point. Sometimes there can be a lack of momentum going into overtime, and you're seeing that with this game. Wake Forest feels like they just kind of pulled one out of a hat, out of the Demon Deacon hat, if you will.
Nice.
And so they feel a little more motivated and have a little more momentum for overtime.
Tough make for Ruby Whitehorn, and they needed it too to get back within 2.
Big shot. Whitehorn has been quiet. She was the leading scorer in this game back on January 1st, but that was a massive shot from the freshman.
Just able to get it across to avoid the 10-second violation there. A 1-possession ball game here in overtime, and the ball's loose. Picked up by Summiel, now in the hands of Jewel Spear. 8 to shoot.
I'm not giving this ball up if I'm Spear.
Nunu Bradford reached in. And that's going to be her second. Everyone's shooting now.
The last thing you want, Sam, is to put Jewel Spear at the free throw line. But here's that big finish from Ruby Whitehorn, a strong take and a very tough finish around the basket. But because both these teams are in the bonus, that's why I said if I'm Spear, I'm not giving the ball up. I'm either going to go score or get fouled because I want you to put me at the free throw line.
So how about this, Kelly? A chance for a what? 30-burger. Jewel Spear, 29 points now.
I love a good 30-burger.
Already had 1 30-burger earlier in this season.
Where's the promotion? Wake needs to institute that. When Jewel Spear hits 30, everybody gets a free burger. She stays at 29, though. A rare miss from Spear at the free throw line.
So now 45 to play. Still, Clemson could tie it with a 3. Whitehorn looking to loft it underneath. Robinson tried to take her hands out, and she's saying she never touched it. So I think we may have a review here. Wake Forest calls the timeout. Here's another look at it, Kelly.
And that's a situation where Whitehorn needs to shoot that ball. Trying to figure out.
Ooh. Did Scruggs touch it? That's
The question is, do we see clear and conclusive evidence that Scruggs touched the basketball?
Well, we're seeing an angle here actually in the arena that to me looks like it may have grazed Amari Robinson's finger. And I don't think Scruggs touched it. This is a massive call though, Sam.
Yeah, which is why the officials are taking a little bit of a longer look at this.
It's either I honestly think it's either no one touched it or Amari touched it, and that means it'd be off Clemson regardless. And Wake Forest basketball. And like you said, Sam, you need that conclusive evidence.
We're getting a second opinion here as we get some more officials rotating in to take a look at it.
I don't think Scruggs touched it. If nobody touched it, it's obviously off of Whitehorn. But the main issue is, did Scruggs touch it? And I just don't think she did.
After review, the ruling on the court is confirmed. It'll be Wake Forest ball, 38.5 seconds on the game clock.
There you go.
It's the right call.
So Wake Forest basketball, that was the initial ruling, and after the review, it will stay with Wake Forest. A 3-point basketball game with 37.9 to play. And I think Coach Gebbia just called another timeout.
Use them if you got them. And she definitely has them right now. She has plenty of timeouts to use.
And we will change the clock to 38.5, so it will be 38.5. Both teams with 2 timeouts, both teams in the bonus, so we'll be shooting the rest of the way.
By the way, with where the ball went out, she should be able to advance the ball here with that timeout call. So that's another reason why Coach Gebbia called that timeout.
All right, so now if you're Clemson, you're playing defense here. What's the strategy going to be? Because there is an 8-second difference or so between the shot clock and the game clock.
ABS, anybody but Spear. You cannot let Jewel Spear beat you, but the most important thing, Sam, is you can't foul.
Right.
Because any ball, any foul, even on the floor, is going to put Wake at the free throw line. Make someone else take the shot and do not foul. Those would be my points of emphasis.
Ball into Sumiel, and she's hounded. And a timeout's called by Wake Forest.
I thought they had called a foul.
I did too. I thought I saw a hand up for a foul, but Coach Gebbia.
It's a good break for Clemson.
Yeah.
Now, I like that Clemson wants to trap. You want to stay within what you do. Be yourself. But you can't foul on that trap. And Michaela Elmore got close there in that situation.
Clemson came out like they were almost trying to foul there. It was an aggressive trap. Trying to find that fine line between fouling and creating a turnover.
And you have Elmore in there for her size at 6'3", but she is just a young sophomore. I think you got to double emphasize in that huddle. We're not fouling. We're trapping. We're still going to play aggressive defense, but we cannot foul here.
So Wake Forest now down to 1 timeout. Clemson and Coach Butler still with 2. 3-point ball game. Wake Forest with the ball. Inbounds to Sumiel. Out goes Elmore. Williams now with the ball. Wake Forest content to hold here.
You got to make her give this ball up, Sam. You've got to.
10 on the shot clock. 3-point ball game. Williams trying to ice it, and it's blocked from behind. Tamira Hines with the offensive rebound. Ball still loose. Who's going to get it? On the ground. And it will be Wake Forest basketball. It was touched by Brie Perpignan while she was out of bounds. And I think we're going to have another review here to try and take a look at, whether or not Perpignan touched it out of bounds. But the reviews continue to play a factor in this one, but they're important.
And you can't make this up because this literally happened in Clemson's game on Thursday. It was an overtime game with a plethora of reviews.
Ruling on the court is confirmed. It'll be Wake Forest basketball, 8.3 seconds on the game clock.
Were able to confirm just off of Hannah Hank.
I was going to say,
Hannah Hank had 1 foot out of bounds and 1 foot inbounds, and the ball hit her. So that's definitely Wake Forest basketball. And that's huge for Clemson. You've got to find a way to get that rebound. Wake Forest with 15 offensive rebounds today, Clemson just 7. Got to find a way to secure that rebound, because all you have to do is call timeout, you advance the ball, and you have a half-court set to try to get a 3. But now
you got to foul,
because you didn't get
right?
that offensive rebound, you do. With this amount of time left, it's just who you foul. And I would foul Hines at 32%. And I think they were trying to right there with Bradford.
Long inbound, Sumiel fouled right away. Only about a 1.5 seconds comes off the clock. And Sumiel will go to the free throw line. Sumiel 2 for 2 at the free throw line here today, but only shoots at about 63% on the year. She's got 2 shots and makes the first.
Massive make there to make it a 4-point game. And
wow.
Big time shots from Olivia Sumiel, the senior. She knows how important those 2 were.
Massive shots. It was a 1-possession game, at least up until those free throws. So it's 69-64. Coach Butler will use a timeout. Both teams with 1 remaining. A reminder, both teams in the bonus.
You don't have enough time to go try to get a quick 2. With 6 seconds left, you need to get a 3 quickly. And then you've got to find a way to get a steal, get the ball back, even though Wake Forest does have 1 timeout left. So even if Clemson makes a 3 right on this possession quickly, Wake's going to call a timeout and advance the ball.
So Nunu Bradford will take it out on the side. Maddie Ott into the game, 3-point specialist for Clemson. Trying to get it in. Amari Robinson double team. Wide open. Hannah Hank for 3. No good. Clock winding down. And the buzzer. Huge win for Wake Forest at home as Jewel Spear celebrates with her 29 points to lead all scores. The final score 69-64.
Sam, there is